Hi everyone, Angela here. In this video, I show you how I make these puffy little heart-shaped baskets. Store your bits and pieces in them or use it for Valentine's Day or as gifts for any occasion. Links for all the tools I use and my PDF patterns can be found in the description below. I've transferred the heart-shaped pattern and the rectangular pattern onto cardboard. You can also cut the pattern out of translucent template plastic with the heart drawn in the middle if there's a part of a print that you'd like to cut out. With the rectangular pattern piece, cut one out for the top of the base, one for the bottom of the base, and one out of fusible batting with glue dots on one side. For the side, cut a piece 4 inches by 16 inches and one out of batting 3 inches by 16 inches. Using light or medium weight fusible interfacing with the glue on one side, you can trace around the heart pattern using a vanishing ink pen and cutting out with scissors. But what I prefer to do is use a precision fabric knife, folding the interfacing, and then just using the knife to trace around half of the heart pattern. Next, place the rectangular batting with the glue side up. On top of that, place the base top right side up, checking the direction of the pattern. On top of that, place the base bottom with the wrong side up. And lastly, place the heart-shaped interfacing with the glue side down. Give it a good press, and using the heart pattern again, mark the opening onto the fabric. Clip all layers together on each side with the bottom clip over to the left. With the side piece wrong side up, place the batting on top of it with the glue side down. Flip it over and press it together. Flip over again and fold both edges over 1/2 inch and press. For this project, I'm using my Kai 6-inch embroidery scissors. They're really lightweight, super sharp, and they're just an absolute pleasure to use. For the base, we'll be stitching from here all around to here, back tacking at both marks. Stitch right beside the edge of the interfacing, and when you get to the corner, have your needle down, lift your foot, and pivot. Continue stitching along the edge, and when you get to the curvier part of the edges, just lift your foot and move the fabric every 3 or 4 stitches. If you're finding this video helpful, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on all notifications, and also leave a comment below. Once you're finished stitching, trim the fabric leaving about 1/4 inch from the stitch line all around. You can trim it down a bit more around the curves. At the top, cut right into that point, being careful not to cut into the stitching. Trim straight across at the bottom and then cut out a V shape at the top. Turn it over and carefully trim just the batting 1/4 inch across the opening. Now if you want, you can trim down the rest of the batting all around the heart. Turn it right side out and use your fingers to push out along the seam so that it's nice and smooth. Then use something pointy like a knitting needle to push out that bottom corner. Next, fold in the seam allowances at the opening so that you have a nice smooth shape, and then crease along the folds. Now at this point, if you hand stitch the opening closed or edge stitch it all around, you can use the heart right now as a drinks coaster. Fold the side piece in half with right sides together, open up the folds and match the short ends. Then stitch together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, back tacking at the start and finish. Trim just the batting on both sides of the seam, then fold that seam in half and trim that center fold on an angle. Also trim the seam allowance at both ends, and then spread open the seam allowance and crease it down with your fingers. Fold over the edges again, and then fold the band in half. Because we trimmed away the center of that seam, the folded edge on the right side will be nice and smooth. Now fold the rest of the band in half, matching up the folded edges and clipping it in place. Just make sure that the band is lying flat and not twisted when you're clipping it together. Starting from the seam, edge stitch all around, back tacking at the start and finish. Fold the band at the seam and then find the halfway point on the other side. Then smooth out the fabric on the inside of this fold, making sure that it's not pleating. Next, we'll edge stitch from the top folded edge of the band down to about 1/4 inch from the bottom. Edge stitch 1/8 inch from the fold, back tacking at the start and finish. Now turn it over so that that stitched edge is on the inside. This is going to help keep the band in a heart shape. With the puffy side of the base facing up, place the band on top of it, matching the seams to the points of the heart. Now you could easily finish this by sewing the edges together by hand, but I'll show you how to do this by machine. With the folded edge of the band at the top and the edge stitch on the inside, flip it down and match the bottom edge to the center point of the heart. Clip it in place and then turn it around and match the seam to the bottom point of the heart. Then place a clip on either side of the point. Now match the edges on the right and place a clip before the curve starts. On the other side, match the edges of the band with the edges of the opening. Starting at where the top of the opening is, edge stitch all of the layers together. Now it's a little bit tricky. You need to push the band to match the shape of the heart. At the bottom, push the band right into the point and pivot at the seam. Remove the clip and then flatten out the band behind the presser foot. When you get to the top of the heart, you'll need to pull out the edge of the band to match the edge of the curve. Gather up and flatten down the band to make this easier. In the middle, make sure to match that seam to the point. You'll need to stretch out the top of the heart and ease the band to fit. Take your time when you do this and lift your foot every few stitches to turn it. Pivot at the corner and then repeat for the other curve. Now, although a heart is a basic shape, this project's a little bit tricky, so if you manage to do it, good on you. I love the puffiness of the sides, but I want to do one more thing to the bottom. Fold along that bottom seam, and then we'll give it a press without pressing the top fold. This will give it a nice V shape at the bottom. I hope you enjoy making this. Make sure to check out some of my other videos. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, take care and happy sewing.